Hi, everyone. Welcome to Your Disabled Joy. My name is Nico and I use he, him pronouns. I'm a white man with parted blonde hair, large blue and brown spectacles, and I'm seated in front of a purple wall and some bookcases. I'm wearing a checkered orange, blue, and white button-down dress shirt. And like about 20% of all people worldwide, I'm disabled. Non-disabled people might see our lives and experiences as pitiful, sad, tragic, but I don't know, guys. I've been pretty disabled a long time now, and I think there's also room for disabled joy. Our disabled community has as many members as it has opinions, which is why I've asked my friend Amber here with me today to talk about disabled joy. Hi, Amber, how are you doing?
Hi, good, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Of course. Can you share a joyful memory with me? It could have to do with your disability, or it could be totally separate.
I would say, trying to think. Do you know what I think for me? So I'm autistic and ADHD. My son's autistic, most likely ADHD. And I would say my biggest joy has actually been with him. So
Okay.
being able to kind of experience, because I was quite a highly masked autistic up until a couple of years ago. So I don't really have many memories of me growing up being able to kind of recklessly kind of be myself, because there was always consequences to that, whether that be like alienation or whatever. But being able to kind of give my son that freedom and watch him stimming really happily, being completely in his own element, and being able to kind of share that joy with him is probably the biggest joy that I've had in my experience.
Okay. I understand that you're getting to give your son the unmasked autistic experience that perhaps you
Yeah.
didn't get, and I really appreciate that. Thank you. How has your disability kind of intersected or impacted with how you pursue joy or pursue your own happiness?
That's such a great question. I think, like I say, I was quite highly masked, and I kind of measured my joy. I almost kind of didn't enjoy the things I actually wanted to enjoy. I enjoyed the things that I thought I had to enjoy. Does that make sense?
I
So I
think
would put myself through like going night clubbing, and I can't think of anything worse. I think we've all done that, and put ourselves in social situations that we don't feel entirely comfortable in because we want to be like everyone else. And actually, I think it's the joy in being able to say no to things, like being able to go, do you know what? Actually, I don't want to do this thing, and I can't think of anything worse. And what's quite nice now is because I'm so open about my experience as an autistic woman, now my friends and my family, they totally understand it now in a way that they never used to. They now know kind of where my limits are. So they'll say, right, okay, we're not going to do that because, that's not going to be good for you. And they give me the option rather than me feeling like I have to do things. Does that make sense?
I think so. It's really
Yeah.
wonderful. It's
Yeah.
fantastic to have those friends that can make that space for you.
Yeah. I'm really, really lucky. And that's been quite a recent thing because I've experienced the kind of opposite end of the spectrum where you have friends who manipulate you, or they're like, what's wrong with you? Why are you like this? Those people are no longer in my life. So now the friendships I do have are really authentic and built in actually who I am, rather than this kind of really carefully curated mask.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I really follow with what you're saying, and it tracks kind of with my own disabled experience.
Okay.
I think that's why it can be very difficult for especially young kids when they're at that stage, because then developmentally, like, you do want to be like everybody else.
Hmm.
If you're a young kid in school and your friend needs to go to the water fountain or the bathroom, suddenly everybody else does too, right? Because they all want to be
Yes,
together. So yeah, it's very difficult. My
it
own
is.
parent, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, carry on. Sorry, that's me,
I appreciate
ADHD
that.
jumping in.
My own parents tried to really comfort me by saying things like, it's okay to be your own person, and it is, but that's not where
Mm,
my head was at, 5 or 6 years old.
no. And I think even when you get to like 13, I would say actually prior to second, like senior school, obviously you say high, I don't know how your school system, is it like middle school when you're 11?
Around there, yeah.
Yeah. So prior to we kind of just had primary school and senior school. Prior to me starting senior school at 11, I was a bit more like that. I was a bit more like, oh, I'm just going to go and do what I want, and I don't want to play that game, so I'm going to go off. I was actually a lot more freer. And it was actually once I entered the kind of senior school space, and I think, you know, when you're dealing with especially girls, like girls are very, can I swear? Can I say bitchy?
Sure.
No,
Why not?
like, you know, or catty, whatever you want to call it. I love how your cat's just coming. My cat's asleep next to me, and she's a black cat as well. But she's asleep. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by the cats. But yeah, girls can be very catty and very, you know, oh, you're not doing that, so you're and it very, you know, petty. So suddenly you're in this space of like, oh, I have to do this, so everyone's going for lunch here, so I have to join them, and if I don't join them, I get left out. And that's where that started. And I would say even up until like being in my 20s, going out clubbing with friends, and they'd all want to go to a different club, or they'd want to go, and I'd be like, oh, I don't want to do that, but if I say no. So that pattern has continued up until like early adulthood.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that we were both able to kind of break free of that, and now we
Yeah,
can habit the spaces and lives and bodies that we want to, at
yeah,
least.
definitely.
Fantastic. What one thing, if you could narrow it down, what one thing do you want the rest of the world to know about disabled life or about disabled quality of life?
I would say I would like people to know that our lives are not any less.
Mhm.
It can be different, but not necessarily less. And I think sometimes, and I understand it, they come at you with a kind of pity angle. And a lot of the time, that's not what we want. We want, for me personally, and for the people that I speak to, a lot of it's about understanding. I want you to understand my experience, but I don't necessarily want you to pity it, because my experience isn't some sad tragedy. My experience, like there's lots of things that I've got to experience because of my disability. You know, doing the advocacy work, the communities that I've built around me, the friendships that I've made, so many of those wouldn't have happened if I wasn't autistic and ADHD. And even with my son, the relationship I have with him and kind of the experiences I've had with him probably wouldn't have happened either. So, you know, for me, I wouldn't, if someone said to me, oh, here's a magic wand, you can change it. For me personally, I wouldn't. I know that comes from a big place of privilege. And I know there's people that would maybe have a different opinion of that, depending on their disability, if there are a lot more higher support needs or something like that, which is totally understandable. But again, I think even their experiences, it tends to come from a place of we want understanding, not kind of to be seen as less. And also we can provide massive value to society, which I think gets overlooked. Is it something like only 12% of autistic adults are in full-time employment, just from my angle? And that's without any other disabilities on top or anything like that. And actually, you know, many autistic people are absolutely a valued member of society and can be so. And the same with ADHD. There's lots of positive qualities that often get overlooked because people tend to kind of hang on to the negative. So yeah, I would say, you know, the value in us, there's a lot of value in us. There's a lot of positives that need to kind of be seen first rather than the negatives.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Thank
Yeah.
you, Amber. My last planned question is one that I ask all my interviewees, regardless of project. Is there a recent win that you're celebrating that you want to name and celebrate so that we can celebrate along with you? Or if not, what cool projects have you got going on? If you want to connect with others or like grow a online presence, where can people find you online? Amber, this is your chance to really be your own cheerleader, to brag about yourself. Let's hear it.
Okay. So I would say a big win actually is, especially for an ADHD person, I've consistently kind of worked on my podcast for the last year. So that's been a big thing, because everyone I know that's ADHD is like, oh, you're going to do it for 3 months and then you're going to forget about it. Like, no, I've stuck at this for a year. So if you do want to go and listen to that, it's basically me talking about being an autistic and ADHD woman, being a parent, raising an autistic child. And it's called the Neurodivergent Awakening. And the idea around it is kind of understanding your new identity, like especially if this is quite a recent thing for you, because I speak to a lot of late diagnosed people. So it's kind of guiding you through that journey like the essential awakening that happens, because when you have a so-called invisible disability, and one that you kind of not realized you had your whole life, it can feel like an awakening. It can feel like you're a whole new person. So there's that. And then also I have a Patreon, which is launching on the 1st of July. And it's called the Neurodivergent Awakening Community. And it's essentially going to be a safe space for people going through that journey who want to meet other people. There's going to be like a private WhatsApp group, and there's going to be long form content and exclusive content on there as well. And if you want to follow me, I'm on Instagram and TikTok as It's Amber Collins, but on Instagram I've got an underscore, so I might need to send you everything and put it in the show. Like I'm not like put it in your caption or your show note or your bio, whatever it goes into. But yeah, I would say actually, to be honest, the biggest win I've had is for someone who spent 28 years really ashamed of their autistic identity. I had a lot of internalized ableism.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like now I'm 31, I really feel like I'm on the other side of that now. So I'd say that's been my biggest win. And for me, the podcast and the content creation has been such a huge part of that. That's been like therapy. So
Amber, it was a joy to speak with you, to hear about your
thank
journey
you.
and to learn about your current efforts. Thank you for everything you're doing, not just for your son and for yourself, but for the entire autistic community there in
Thank
the
you so
UK.
much.
Of
Thank you
course.
so much, Nico. It's been lovely talking to you.
And you as well. Audience, tune in next time. And remember, I'm rooting for you.